when we're born, our brain is only about 20 or 25% of the adult size. No other animal has that. Most other animals, most of their brain is developed in the womb, or in an egg, or in something that is a controlled setting. When 80% of our brain almost develops outside of the womb. So that means that all of those milestones, all of those steps to get from, over the first 3 years, going from 20, 25% to 90% of the adult size, is really critical. And any deviation from optimal development has an impact on our brain, and has an impact on the way our brain will grow and will develop, and the way it will ultimately connect. And that is what I believe is the source of almost all the neurodevelopmental and even adult mental health issues, because we know the fate of the adult brain is really decided in those first 6 years when that right brain and left brain is developing. So again, we're told over and over by, traditional pediatricians that, oh, it doesn't matter how kids develop, or, everybody develops at different ages and different stages. And if they don't crawl, it doesn't matter anymore. All of that is, in my mind, completely untrue. That those steps are there, and they're very specific. Human brain is one of the most complex things we know in the universe, and I don't believe that it can just get to its optimal level just haphazardly and just, any way. That there's very specific, what I call brain developmental blueprint that needs to be followed. So, and those milestones are all really reflective of primitive reflexes and the onset of primitive reflexes. And as you know, that's where I've spent a lot of area in my research.
And tell me how that the retention of those reflexes really set off a trajectory of different either symptoms or ailments, or even lifetime problems. And that's what we were learning in your course, and it was just amazing. It wasn't just for childhood, it goes long term. So if you don't actually integrate these reflexes, you don't correct your balance and your eye alignment and all of those different functions up that kind of pyramid of learning, you are in a place of imbalance.
Yeah, and so, again, one of the reasons why we have these reflexes to begin with, and why they're so important in humans, as opposed to other animals, is our genes that regulate our brain are about 84% of the genes that we have are active in brain growth and development. So it's a lot. And they happen to be the most sensitive genes we have. And that makes our brain very adaptable, which is an advantage, but it also makes it very vulnerable to negative environmental influences, or if we don't have the positive influences that we're supposed to have. So we see that these genes are there to kind of sense when we're outside the womb and turn on. And these primitive reflexes really start even before birth. So pre-birth movements, a baby automatically, miraculously gets into the right position, upside down and backwards, without the cord wrapped around their neck. That's the way it's supposed to happen. They're supposed to be deep enough down in the canal that they induce the birth process. So, if a baby is in a breech position, if they're sunny side up, if they have the cord wrapped around their neck, if they're not in the right position, if they're not deep enough down, if the mother needs to be induced, all of those things to me usually will say that the reflexes aren't there when they're supposed to be, right? So they're not coming on, they're delayed. And then, going through the birth canal, the baby should use those reflexes to get themselves out. They should push themselves through the canal. They could propel themselves out and use these reflexes.